So this is Dave and Chontelle, and we are here inside the reconstruction of a Roman villa at the J. Paul Getty Museum in Malibu, California. And Chontelle and I have been there many times. Chontelle is also went here more than I did because you had class here.
We did.
Quite a bit because you were studying scene design for the theater, so you studied architecture and the history of these things. So we thought we would just share with you kind of some of what we see here and our experience with the Getty. So this is one of the sculptures. This is a herm. And we know it's a herm because it's just a bust. It doesn't have a head. I mean, it's just a head and some shoulders on a with no body, right?
Right, and part of the herm nature is that it's on this stone plinth, rather than just a freestanding
plinth.
It's
okay.
A rectangular base, and the bust is integrated into that base.
Okay.
And this one is bronze. And you can see that it's got marble eyes inset in the bronze. In some of the bronzes that you see in museums, they're missing their eyes.
Right, and they've seen some video of the ones inside where some of them have eyes and some of them don't.
And all of these statues in the Getty are antiquities. I mean, they're actual.
So this isn't a recreation. This is an actual piece from the classical Roman era that's been placed here, so we can kind of see how it would have been seen at the time and what the sculptures and everything would have been like at the time, rather than just inside the gallery.
Yes,
okay.
And a lot of the herms are family members, so that it's kind of like how in a lot of people's houses they have pictures of grandma and grandpa and mom and dad and stuff. In Rome they would have these herms. So we're in the courtyard here. Those are Ionic columns.
And so we looked at the Parthenon last week in terms of Greek, and so they understand a little bit about these columns and how they were used and the incredible sort of fool the eye stuff that the Greeks did with them.
Yes.
The Romans sort of took that and built on it, right?
Correct.
And then also this is a coppered ceiling here.
Yes, so the ceiling has panels that are inset, and then they have little gold floral motifs inset, highly decorated.
And we're looking at topiaries here, which are these shrubs that are carved into shapes. And then we've seen, well, this isn't our video, just for the record. This was the best walkthrough we could find. So again, we see the columns and the topiaries, and then there's some full statues. Those are also bronze pieces, right?
Correct. And this is it's a column courtyard that surrounds this nice water feature, benches around the perimeter. Around the perimeter in those columned areas, they would have doorways that go off to different parts of the house, where perhaps different rooms would be, or
bedrooms,
kitchens, etc. But they did a lot of their living outside because it's Rome. It's hot much of the year, much like California.
Yeah.
So
and that's one of the reasons they could do it here, is because the climate's very similar. Correct. All the plants are correct to Italy, not California.
Right.
Some of them imported, but everything is as it would be in Italy.
Correct. And there would have been fountains like this because they did have running water.
And they had plumbing.
In Rome, they had plumbing.
Yeah.
The Romans created that.
Right.
Their aqueducts. You can see again the upper areas. So in that upper area, that's where more of the living quarters would be, is up top. Private quarters.
Okay. There's another herm with those funny square arms. And so what's going on with the bottom of the columns?
So the bottom of the columns, they didn't flute them. So that concave nature up higher, that's fluting. But the Romans learned from the Greeks that in the lower sections that fluting would get broken off as people walked past it and touched it and things like that. So they actually made it a stylistic choice to make them solid around the base.
Sound of the fountains is really peaceful. Nice detail in the hair. Did the Romans use lost wax for bronze?
They did, yes.
So they made a wax sculpture.
A wax sculpture, and then they would pour the molten bronze into that, and then that would melt the wax, and the wax would go away, leaving just the bronze.
He's got eyes.
He's got eyes. And the painted walls to kind of replicate some of the architecture that would have been done in marble in other parts of the villa. Like these walls are all marble. And this is from a frieze from a building in antiquity. And another frieze, a bas-relief sculpture.
So it's not full 3/4, but it's got some three-dimensionality, but it's not fully round.
Correct.
So that's part of a frieze or bas-relief.
Yeah.
Right.
And then that statue in the back, or that little alcove in the back, is it's mosaic stonework, and the arch, the niche in there is dimensional, but the rest of it is just mosaic work. To make it look more dimensional than it really is.
And it looks like one of the little niches in the Pantheon.
Correct. And a lot of the villas would have little niches like this dedicated to different gods, much like we have in the Pantheon. You would have little altars. That would be, the face there would be part of a fountain, and water would be streaming out of the mouth.
And here we can kind of see the mosaics very nicely. These are all inlaid tiles of precious stone.
Yes, and then like the shell work and stuff is part of what makes it rusticated, gives it kind of a dimensionality, a roughness to it. In their mind, kind of a natural quality. Even though it's kind of over the top.
Oh,
Oh,
and that's